सल्लापेन सदा हृदात्मरमणाम् आद्योपदिष्टार्थगाम् सल्लाभेन सदा हृदन्तरमणीम् एकात्मयोगस्थिताम् चिल्लाभद्रितबोधभानुकिरणाम् एकान्तहृत्पद्मगाम् मल्लाभां शिवनिर्वृताथ विभवाम् ईडे महावैभवाम्.
It is like introducing Shankara to where he is not known, or introducing Abhinavagupta to where he is very little known. And I am extremely grateful to Swami to have initiated over several occasions without any formal kind of dialogue, but a dialogue between the Advaita of Vedanta of Shankara and the Advaita of Kashmir Saivism. This is also Advaita, but it is called Paramadvaita. Paramadvaita not in the sense more supreme than the others, but more inclusive. So there will be one verse where this inclusion of duality, even in non-duality. Now, I should not go on the philosophy, but it is very important to bring together these traditions of Advaita and of practice, sadhana, philosophy, and everything. So I was not prepared to give a lecture, but just to give a brief hint at the importance of this tradition. Of course, Shankaracharya is known all over India, but because Kashmir was in a kind of isolated, geographically, historically, and although there were connections between north and south, there was a very great connection between Chidambaram and Srinagar. At the time, there was no airlines, there was no train, there was nothing. And the sannyasis, they just came on, walking on foot all the way from Chidambaram to Kashmir. And so there was a dialogue and there was a communication of these two great Shaiva and Advaita traditions. And because of the historical, political problems of Kashmir, it became more isolated, and this tradition remained only among the Pandits, among manuscripts. It was not even published in books. And then, as Swami said, Swami Lakshman Joo, my Guru Dev, he has brought it out by teaching it not only in Kashmiri, everybody was Sanskrit and Kashmiri, but in Hindi and in English. And so he translated and he taught those great texts to scholars, pandits, and devotees, and then slowly it became known also outside Kashmir, in India itself, and also in countries like France and Germany and America, England, etc. It is thanks to his activity of teaching. That is why we are so fortunate to have a living teacher in Swami and to have this possibility of a dialogue between these traditions. Now, Abhinavagupta is always considered the peak of the philosophy of Kashmir Saivism, but he was not the only one. Of course, there was a series of siddhas and masters from Vasugupta, Somananda, Utpaladeva, and then Lakshmanagupta, of whom we didn't have any work. Now, Abhinavagupta is dated in the 10th, 11th century. So it was the millennium. Actually, that millennium was extremely important in all the fields of philosophy, art. You have temples, you have so many great creations of Indian culture around the millennium. And Abhinavagupta was an embodiment of this richness, not just philosophy, not just tantra, but for which he is also famous is aesthetics. He is famous for his aesthetics because he brought together the philosophy of Advaita with not Saundarya, the whole theory of rasa shastra, 8 or 9 rasas, and the Natya Shastra, and of course Kavya. Yes, I should not say too much. Yeah. So that in his person, he played a meena. He was a musician and he was a musicologist. His treatises on music in the Natya Shastra commentary, they are still unique from that time, 10th, 11th century. And those who study classical music, they still refer to this his treatise of music and sound and instrument, etc. Now, he is such a multiple genius that it's difficult to point out what we would consider his main work. Now, his maybe most famous and main work is called Tantra Loka, the light on the Tantras, or light of the Tantras. And that has been recently translated and published in English. That was only 12 volumes in Sanskrit with the commentary of Jayarata. And there was no translation. It was all like my guru, he was teaching it. He was teaching, but he didn't put it in writing. So one of his students and a colleague of mine, Mark Tichkovsky, he translated it into English, and it is now published. But it's now means just now. It is only very recently. So that is why these works are not really known, because if there are no translations, only the Pandits can read, and so it still has a lot of scope to be better known, both among scholars and among seekers. There's so much of confusion about Tantra, but Abhinavagupta has put it in such a clear and profound what is Tantra and what is the practice and what is the philosophy of Tantra. And that is why Tantra Loka is the light on the Tantras. Now, his other works are, as I say, on aesthetics, and then he had a very great disciple, Kshemaraja. He, and speaking of Tantra, I can imagine how Abhinavagupta told him, now I have done this commentary, now you comment on the Tantras. So Kshemaraja commented on the most important Tantras of that tradition, and everything in the light of non-duality. The Tantras themselves have a Advaita. There are Advaita Tantras, there are Dvaita Advaita and Advaita. And Kshemaraja, in his commentary, he brought out the clear Advaita meaning of these great scriptures. So this was the influence of his great guru, Abhinavagupta. But I think I shouldn't make it too long.
About how it gets connected with Bhagavan.
Yes. Of course, the first connection is Advaita, and Advaita not that Bhagavan did not start as a philosopher; he started from the experience, and
how Swami came here.
Yes. See, as I said, even in the 10th century, people were traveling from Madurai and Chidambaram to Srinagar. How they did? Now, in the 20th century, it is much easier. And no, Swami Lakshman Joo, my guru, he was from his childhood, he was in an enlightened state, and he had gurus in that lineage. But his gurus only spoke Kashmiri or Sanskrit. And when he was still very young, and he wanted to establish connection between the different spiritual traditions and between the enlightened beings who were alive at that time. And he did not mind, he went to Sufi saints. It's not a matter of the religion, but of the experience. And of course, Bhagavan was the most famous saint and enlightened being, and he was very eager to have his darshan. In 1938, yes. So he was very young, but he had already attained a very high state of experience. So when he came, he entered the hall where Bhagavan was sitting, and that was what Swami calls it, a Drishti Diksha. So there was a look, and it was done. Because the whole question is how prepared one is. If somebody comes already at the almost enlightened state, and then you don't need much. And this is precisely what in Abhinavagupta's Tantra Loka is called Anupaya. You have also mentioned Anupaya means there is no effort. Now you have to make an effort, this kind of japa and that kind of practice. But it happens, and the characteristic of Anupaya is once and for all. We have experiences, of course, everybody has. But in Bhagavan's case, it was once and for all. And in that meeting between these two, the young Kashmiri Pandit and the enlightened sage, this once and for all happened. So, and then yesterday somebody told me of the old devotees that Bhagavan himself called, that time he was not called Swami, he was called Lakshman Brahmachari. Bhagavan himself would call him early morning to go with him on the hill at 4 o'clock. So, I think he was very fond of, so that was a very special occasion for him, and he has written about it. He was very brief in what he wrote, but that this was so. He spent 3 weeks in the presence of Bhagavan, and then that was a kind of seal, we call it mudra. It is a kind of seal from an enlightened master, and then he went back and then he started his own teaching and having his own disciples and so on. But of course, everybody knew his what he had received, and with Bhagavan And that is, for me, it is very symbolic because I have come here. That was my first immersion in the Indian spirituality in the feet of Arunachala. And then I came to Kashmir. So for me, this connection is very important. It's not geography, it is a spiritual connection. And that is why I'm very grateful that you are sometimes picking up certain points from Kashmir Saivism and establish that connection with the Advaita Vedanta and Shankaracharya and of course Bhagavan.
Bhagavan's words like the I am. In Tamil he says Tan. That is the Mahavakya of Kashmir.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to. Yeah.
Sthanam prapya virajate vinamatam ajnanam unmulayan pashyan vishwamapidam ullasatiyo vishwasya pare parah tasmai Shri Ramanaya lokagurave shokasya hantre namaha. Deham mrinmaya vajjadatmakamaham buddhirna tasyastyato Naham tattadabhava supti samaye siddhatma sadbhavatah Koham bhavayutah kuto varadhiya drishtvatmanishtatmanam Soham spurtidaya arunachala shivah purno vibhati swayam. Today I am going to give a pleasant surprise to you. Sankramotrana bhavana na katha yuktirna charcha na cha dhyanam va na cha dharana na cha japabhyasa prayaso na cha tatkim nama sunishchidam vadaparam satyam cha tatshruyatam na tyagi na parigrahi bhaja sukham sarvam yathavasthitaha. This is a verse Anuttarāṣṭikā of Abhinavagupta. It's a Kashmira Saivism, Kashmira Saiva. She has done so much phenomenal work on Kashmira Saiva. So it's all the book she has given, it is there. So yesterday Amma was referring to that Kritrima Aham Vimarsha and Shuddha Aham. Actually, there is no difference between Atmavidya in Advaita or Kashmira Saivam. No difference at all. Bhagavan will say there is no difference between Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita and Advaita. Because Bhagavan will say for all self-realization is important. Nobody says the body is the self. You have to know what is the real essence of this I. There everyone becomes one. After that what happens, only this Siddhanta came. Whether there is duality, whether there is plurality, all these differences came only. So Bhagavan used to say, we will see it later on. First you finish the first lesson and then you will find that it is the last lesson. There is no step to travel. You are traveling from yourself to yourself. No space, no movement, nothing. That is why here he says, Sankramo atra na. No movement at all. I don't know. There is no need of spiritual progress. That is what you have translated. No movement. Sankrama is, we will say Sankramana. Shift from one place to another. So there is no movement at all. All these movement, spiritual practice, attainment, everything is on the plane of mind. In a dream you feel you have gone to Kailasa. Wake up, you are in Tiruvannamalai. So all this going to that height and coming down, sadhakas will say, yesterday I meditated, reached supreme. Today, so there is no going or coming. Sankramo atra na. You have to take it very clearly. See, this is applicable only to those who have turned their focus, attention towards the self. Then you find the spot where there is no space, where there is no time, where there are no others, where there is pure chit. So, sankramo atra na bhavana, no imagination, no dreaming. As Bhagavan puts it in Upadesha Saram, bhavanatita sadbhavana, going beyond all bhavana to mere existence. So, nor of contemplation, disputation, discussion, nacha bhavana, no imagination. Nacha katha yuktihi. The yukti is rationalism. So, kathanam, katha, talking about discussion. This is becoming meaningless. Dhyanam vanacha. Who is the meditator? When somebody asked Bhagavan how to meditate, Bhagavan said, find out the meditator. See, actually, this is direct guidance to the center. Who wants to meditate? Then you will find what is true meditation. When you want to meditate, you ask who is the meditator. Who is the meditator who wants to meditate? Who says I am not spiritually progressing? Who says I am depressed? Who says I am born? Who says I will die? Who says I am angry? Who says I am desirous? All I. If the I is not, if for this question who says, no answer comes, you are free. If the answer comes, stay with the answer. If the mind tells I, then hold on to it. Then look at that I, focus at that I, pay attention to that I. You need a very, very subtle, inward looking mind. As yesterday we were saying about that Unmani Bhava. Antarmukha. Sadhuvam Swami used to say, it is not Antarmukha, it is Ahamukha. He will say, turning towards the I. Turning towards, the focus is on the Aham, the I. That was the magic of Bhagavan. That was Bhagavan's initiation. That is Bhagavan's initiation. When you come to Bhagavan, Tamil ஒரு பாட்டு இருக்கு, அவன் என் பார்வையை உன்முகமாக்கி விட்டான். What does the Guru does? The magic that Guru does is, he turns you antarmukha, introverted. Not introverted doesn't mean staying in the mind world. See, in Bhakti Marga, he will turn you towards the divine form or the divine Bhava Mandala or to the divine mantra. Like that, in Jnana Marga, you are turned towards Nididhyasana, catching hold of this Chit Srotas, the current of Chit. It starts working inside. The current of I within. The I current. So that the person naturally becomes centered within. So when that is held, when you know that you are the center, you are the meditation. Bhagavan used to say, meditation is your real nature. You are meditation. You are samadhi. Shankaracharya in Gita Bhashya said, Samadhihi Atma. Samadhi is not an experience. He said, Samadhi means Atma. It is another name for the self. So, Samadhihi Atma. So, that is your real nature. So, Dhyanam va nacha, Dharana nacha, Japabhyasa prayaso nacha. Once you have got hold of this current, no meditation, no struggling for Japabhyasa. Then you find that Japa is within you. You are the Japam. The Spandana, Adi Spandana, that sacred Spandana, a Spandana which is not made of thought, a Spandana which is not mind, which is pure consciousness, happens within. Tatkim nama sunishchidam vadaparam, satyam cha tatshruyatam. You want to hear what is the certain thing. It is na tyagi na parigrahi. Once you know this truth, once you know the self, no more sarvarambha parityagi. And here Abhinavaguptacharya, he says, he is neither a renunciate nor he is a possessor. He is neither giving up, notsargo nacha graha. Neither to possess nor to give up. He is established in himself. So, na tyagi, na parigrahi. Don't be a renouncer, because if you have no desire, you need not renounce. If you have desire, you renounce, it remains inside you. So, desirelessness is more than renunciation. If you become utterly desireless, anything you are desireless, you need not renounce. You go to a non-vegetarian market, you are not interested there. Why should you renounce? I have renounced eating non-veg. I have never eaten, I have never thought about it. So, no question of renunciation at all. So, renunciation comes when you already hold it, then you renounce outwardly. That is only a step. But here, na tyagi na parigrahi. He is not a renunciate, he is not a possessor also. Neither renounce nor possess. Not a renunciate, not a possessor. Bhaja sukham sarvam yathavastitah. Once you know the self, you have the knowledge, wherever you are, stay there. Irundapadikke iru endran, iraivan arul seluttum valikke sella endran. Bhagavan said, abide as you are, and wherever he takes you, go there. Move in the stream in which he is making you move. So, know the self and do not try to give up or do not try to possess. Abide happily in yourself. Let things happen in their own course, not by self-will. When that knowledge arises, samsarostina tattvatas tanubhridam. Very beautiful. As Bhaja Govindam Shankaracharya says, Jnate tattve kahas samsaraha. Once you know the self, when you know, have the tattvajnana, we have installed a Shankaracharya idol in our Hosur ashrama. Bharatitirtha Swami did puja to it, keeping it in Chandramaulishwara puja nearby, blessed it, and send it there. So that was kept as a very holy place. So they wanted some words of Shankaracharya to be put there. So what will we write? Then this came. Jnate tattve kaha samsara. Once you know the tattvam, where is samsara? Once you, as Bhagavan also says, Krityamasti kim swasthitin yatah. Once you have found abidance in the self, what is there for you to do? What is there for you to know? And when you know the self, where is mind to control? That is Bhagavan's words. And it will all look very mysterious because in my younger days, I was reading Ramakrishna and Swami Shivananda literature, where so much of insistence is given in controlling the mind. That is needed. Spiritual life is two-sided. One side, this kind of insistence on sadhana, it will come. On the other side, where is sadhana? This question will come. Only this both conflicting, it will appear like contradictory. It is not contradictory. So this side it was coming. On the other side, when we read Bhagavan's gospel, it will be like you make a big balloon and just prick it with a needle. Push, gone. Like that, he says, if you know the self, where is mind for you to control? When you know the self, jnate tattve, where is samsara? On one side, you have vairagya, intense vairagya. Asare, samsare, no samsara, all these terrible things, give it up, renounce. On the other side, where is samsara? You speak about darkness. Is there darkness in the sun? You go to the sun, tarana vivahani. In the sun, there is neither day nor night. As Bhagavan says, day, the place where there is no day or night. The self, Rappahalilla Veruveli Vittil Ramittiduvumva Arunachala. There is neither day nor night. Day means grasping. Night means nothing is known. Sleep is night. Thinking is day. In the self there is neither na utsargaha, na graha, na agraha. As Shankaracharya puts it in Mandukya Karika Bhashya, where says, no graha nor agraha. Graha means grasping. Agraha means nidra. So, beyond both is the self. Samsarosti na, no samsara. When you turn towards Atma, no samsara. When your attention is on the real nature, there is no question of suffering, doership, enjoyership, attachment, aversion. You are the self and you look at others also as Purna. To whom will you teach? You are all sitting here, I am talking. If I think these people do not know and I have to teach them, then I am the greatest Ajnani. You are all knowers. Then why are you here? Out of compassion you have come here. So that somebody will be here to listen. So we can have satsanga. So there is nothing lacking anywhere. Everyone is Purna. Purnam adaha Purnam idam. Siddharth, it's a new meaning. Purnam adaha Purnam idam. Purnat Purnam udachyate. From Purna, the Purna comes. Teaching Purna comes. Purna se Purnam adaya. When all of you go, nobody is here, then also Purnameva avashishyate. Then also Purnam alone remains. So samsarosti na. No samsara. Samsara comes when the two is accepted. When the duality is accepted, samsara comes. Tattvadaha samsaraha nasti. Actually, there is no samsara. It is there, like mirage, it is there. It is appearing. It is making you feel. Like you see Shankaracharya says in one place, for you to feel, it need not be real. The example given is the snake in the rope. You are afraid. And more perfect example can be given, the modern movie. Because of movie, political changes are happening. Because of movie, by acting in movie, some people become chief minister. All these things are happening. It is unreal. Rite artham drishyate. Rite artham na pratiyeta cha atmani tadvidyad atmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tabaha. Without any reason and rhyme and reason, it appears. And you feel, and who is feeling? The mind is feeling. Mind is also unreal. So, samsarosti na tattvataha. Actually, there is no samsara. Tanubhridam, for those who are embodied. Actually, there is no samsara. Bandhasya vartaivaka. Who is bound? There is no question of bondage. They say, oh, I am bound, I am bound. When people used to tell Bhagavan, how will the bondage go? Bhagavan said, find out who is bound. Seek who is bound. I am bound. Who is this I? In Bhagavata, Krishna says to Uddhava, Uddhava is asking, how will this bondage go? Krishna said, Bandho muktiriti vyakhya gunatomena vastutaha gunasya maya moolatvat name mokshaha na bandhanam. This thing, this duality of bandha and moksha is due to guna. And when you know the real self, there is neither bondage nor liberation. It is bandha mukti atitam param sukham vindatiha jivastu daivikaha. Upadesha Sara. So, bandhasya vartaiva ka. When you have this knowledge, then all this question about bondage becomes redundant. See, this is a state where you have to go. It is not a statement. If you take it as a statement, then problem. See, if you record this and put it in YouTube, people will ask, then what is for this sadhana? All nonsense, no? This YouTube is a samsara. Bhagavan says, go to iTube. And we are going to this YouTube. This is the problem. I, you is samsara. I is light, you is darkness. This is Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Shankaracharya begins with that. Yushmad asmat pratyaya gocharayoho vishaya vishayinoho tamah prakashavad viruddha swabhavayoho. One is like prakasha, the other is like tama. The you is tama. You means the seen, the object. And I is the seer, the light, the drik. So, go to the iTube. You seek the I in the, something like a tube is there inside, no? Bhagavata says, Brahma entered that inner tube like the lotus bud, entering into it and searching. Like that, enter into, seek the I, where from the I arises. So, bandhasya vartaivaka bandho yasya na jatu tasya vitatha muktasya muktikriya. Bandho yasya na jatu. Jatu means kadachit, never. If there is no bondage, this kind of mukti kriya also becomes meaningless. Mithya moha kridesha rajju bhujagat chhaya pishacha brahmaha. Rajju bhujagat chhaya. Like the serpent appearing in the rope, this Brahma, this delusion, this ego. You are having a fight with the ego. When you know what this ego is, Tattva Jnana, then you know there is no ego. You need not have any tussle, fight with the ego. So, ma kinjit tyaja, ma grihana. Very beautiful. It says, don't give up anything, don't take hold of anything new. Ma kinjit tyaja ma grihana viharasvastho yatavasthitah. Like Ashtavakara is speaking, he says, viharasvastho yathavasthitah. Abide in yourself and just roam about. And wander about free, absolutely free, as a Jivan Mukta, abiding in the self. Ma kinjit tyaja ma grihana viharasvastho yathavasthitah. Puja pujaga pujya bheda sarani keyam kathanuttare sankrama kila kasyakena vidadhe kova praveshakramaha mayeyam nachidadvayat paradaya bhinnapyaho vartare sarvam swanubhava swabhava vimalam chintam vrita ma krithaha. Very beautiful. The last line is all very beautiful, where he says, Chintam vritha ma krithaha. Don't unnecessarily think. He says. All problems are due to that. Bhagavan says in talks, to think is not your real nature. Chintam vritha ma krithaha. You should be very miserly in using thoughts. Unnecessarily, the more you use thoughts, you are a materialist, because thought is also matter. It is another form of body. It is Sukshma Sharira. So, Chintam ma vrita kritaha. This is actually the whole purpose of sadhana. In many places, Bhagavan just cracks. He says, silence of thinking. Do not think. This is the essence. Nishala tattva. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Puja pujaka pujya bheda sarani. This bheda sarani, vikalpa, it enters, sometimes, see, samatvam, when you have the equanimity, samabuddhi is very much necessary. And when that samatva is broken, it is like an apashruti, a wrong note. Suddenly the I arises, thoughts, you, he. Sometimes you comes, the I comes. You are alone, you need not use the I. That is why the first Mahavakya says, Aham Brahmasmi. Means the I does not exist, only Brahman exists. But the you comes, suddenly the I also comes to have a fight. So when you come, you are not coming. Once we went to see a Mahatma in a hospital. He was not keeping well. When we entered the hospital, he started saying, it is all Brahman. Everywhere it is Brahman, nothing else. Inside this room, it is only Brahmanubhava. And then he said, no one has come here and nobody is going. Because the moment you allow others to come, vikalpa comes, thoughts come, mind works. So, when you have to do puja to somebody, puja, then pujya, then pujaka. You need a pujya, you need someone to worship. And you are doing this puja karma, that is puja. And you are the pujaka. This trinity comes, this trio, ego, dhyana, dhyatri, dhyeya, that is also vikalpa. So puja, pujaka, pujya, bheda saranihi. It is like a sarani means it's a stream, it is a current, a lot of triputi comes. The mind is filled with triputi. I, he, you, I am doing this. You can see the mind. All this is due to ignorance. Puja, pujya, pujaka, pujya bheda saranihi. The worship, the one who worships and the object of worship. Keyam katha anuttare. Nothing is there uttara to it. It is beyond everything. So, sankrama kila kasya. From where are you going to go to another place? Where will you shift? What kind of mental progress are you expecting in the Purna? Karmana no vardhate no kaniyan. The Shruti says it will not increase by any action, it will not decrease by anything. So, sankrama kila kasya. From where do you want to shift? Here you look at the self, you are Purna. You look at the mind, you go this side, that side, here, there, everywhere. You take a paradigm shift to the self, then no more movement. Sankrama kila kasya kena vidade kova praveshakramaha. Who is going to enter? Mayeyam na chidadvayat paradaya bhinnapyaho vartate. From that non-dual essence, nothing exists. As non-dual consciousness, all being the pure. Sarvam swanubhava swabhava vimalam. All this is due to the real nature of the self. It is by its very nature. It is vimalam, it is pure. Chintam vritha ma kritaha. Don't think about anybody. Don't think about yourself also. All are Purna. This is one way. Mandukya Karika. Gaudapadacharya says, Swabhava sarve dharma swabhavena. I don't remember that Karika, where he says, all are Purna. When you look at all are Purna, you need not worry about anybody. Everyone is Purna. So, Sarvam Swanubhava Swabhava. It is by the Swanubhava, it is Sarvam Purnam. In Bhagavata, Krishna tells Uddhava, he gives a very beautiful teaching where he says, don't think or speak about another person's mind or another person's action, whatever is appearing as another person. Paraswabhava karmani na prashamset na garhayet. Do not praise anyone's action. Do not insult, speak negatively about anyone. Vishwam ekatmakam. It says the whole world is one Atma, one self, and that self alone exists. The moment you speak about a person, you slip from the non-dual essence. So, Sarvam Swanubhava Swabhava Vimalam. All are the Atman. You need not think about anybody. Thought is useless. Chintam vritha ma krithaha. Anandotrana vittamadhya madavan naivangana sangavat. Divarkendu krita prabha prakaravan naiva prakashodayaha. Harshas sambrida bheda mukti sukabhuhu bharavataropamaha. Sarvadvaita padasya vismrta nidhehe prapti prakashodaya. Prakashodaya. It is prakashodayaha. Right? It's only ya. I am reading this verse for the first time. I have not read it before. Just now only I opened the shloka. Yes, Abhinavagupta's verse. Anandotrana vittamadhya madavan naivangana sangavat. This bliss is not comparable to that which is experienced through riches or wine or even union with the beloved. Oh, Anandotrana vitta it's actually madhya. They have put it madhya. Printing, yes. Vitta madhya madavan naivangana sangavat. People, when they speak about pleasure, it needs wealth, it needs some object for giving you pleasure, a woman or man or wine. This is what is happening everywhere. So this pleasure is not like that. This is not contact bond pleasure. You don't need even yourself to have this experience. Even you don't need. Generally dualistic people, they will say, I don't want to become sugar. I want to be an ant to eat the sugar. That is a very, very wrong example. This is actually becoming an ant and enjoying sugar is samsara. You want to be a bhokta and make Bhagavan bhogyam. He is a Chaitanya vastu. The sugar is a Jada vastu. And the ant is Chaitanyam. The whole example is reverse. So, it is Ananda Swarupa. There is nobody to experience this. Anandotra na vitta madhya madavan naivangana sangavat. Angana sanga. Like a contact with a woman. It is not like that. Deeparkendu krita prabha pragravan naiva prakashodayaha. The dawning of that light is not to be compared with the light of a lamp or that of sun or moon. When we say light, people will imagine some light inside. It is not that light. It is the light of existence. When you sit in a dark room, you know you exist. That is the light. That is the light of Chit Prabha, Chit Prakasha, Swayam Prakasha. It is not this outer Jada Prakasha. So it is not like that. So Deepa, Arka, Indu Krita Prabha. Deepa is lamp, Arka is sun, Indu is moon, Indu Krita Prabha Pragara Vati Naiva Prakashodeha. It is not like that light. Harsha Sambhrida Bheda Mukti Sukabhuhu Bharavataropamaha. The joy that is felt when one is freed from the burden of accumulated differences can only be compared to the relief felt while setting on the ground a heavy weight. Bhagavan used to say this very often. The Jivan Mukta feels great relief in the Videha Mukti. Or actually, generally, my own example. I can only give example from from my state. So, I always used to say, it is like, how will be the joy of liberation? It is like the first day evening before the summer vacation. From tomorrow it is summer vacation. And you are coming from the school. And people will generally, it is a joke. School, Putyacha, is the school locked? And they will say, I want to put the key inside the well so that they will never open it. So it is eternal vacation. Nothing to do, nothing to achieve, nowhere to go, nothing to know. No strain of knowledge, no strain of action, no strain of attainment, no strain of the other. And you are sufficiently complex and you don't need another to be complex. So you also do not exist. The I thought also do not exist. Swami, I will, very sincere, honest, how will I attain spiritual progress? You don't exist. Who asked you to attain spiritual progress? Cease to exist. In deep sleep, can you have any spiritual progress? Only that exists. That is what Bhagavan says to Arunachala. Arunachala, you alone reign supreme. I don't want to exist. Ekanai vali needuri. Even if this I arises, Arunachala, put your feet on his head. Let him not arise. So, Deeparkendu krita prabha prakaravan naiva prakashodayaha harshas sambhrita bheda mukti sukabhu bharavataropamaha. Sambhrita bheda mukti sukabhu bharavataropamaha. Just like a person is carrying a heavy weight on his head for a long time, and he reaches home and put it there. In Shivananda Lahari, Shankaracharya has given Rodhas Toya Hirta Shramena Patikaha Chayam Taror Vrishtitaha Bhitas Swastagriham Grihastam Atitihi Deenah Prabhum Dharmikam. Various examples Shankaracharya gives. A person who is being taken by a torrential flow of a river, suddenly he finds the bank. Reaches the bank like that. Shramena, a carrier of a great load on his head, walking in the road, he reaches his place. Appa. Like that is absolute freedom of relief from all heavy assumed bondage. Harshas sambrida bheda mukti sukabhu bharavataropamaha sarvadvaita padasya. That supreme Advaita Padam. Sarvadvaita Padasya. Universal non-duality, that is. Sarvadvaita Padasya. Vismrta Nidhehe. It is Vismrta Nidhi. It is also not an attainment. It is the treasure that you are carrying in your heart for eternally carrying. And suddenly the Guru makes you recognize that nidhi, that treasure. So Vismrta nidhehe praptihi prakashodayaha. Suddenly you put the light, you find the room filled with treasure. You did not create the treasure, you did not attain treasure, you did not bring in treasure. You just put on the light, you see it is filled with treasure. Like that, when you the attention, the Shraddha is turned towards the self, the Atma, you find that the Atma is a great treasure. As Bhagavan says, Tedadu Uttranal Thiruvarul Nidhi. Tedadu means without doing any sadhana, without any striving, without any effort. The lazy fellow got, as Sadashiva Brahmendra says, he is a great lazy fellow. The Jnani, Jivan Mukta, is a lazy fellow. So, Vedic dictums, many places Vedas say, don't do this, don't do that. And modern people say, why I should not do? I will do. If you ask them to do, they will not do. If you tell them do Gayatri Japa, they will not do. If you tell them you should not do Gayatri Japa, then they will start doing. But Sadashiva Brahmendra says, these statements of don't do, looks like music to the Jivan Mukta. Says, only when they say do, it is difficult. Don't do means very, very happy. At least I am free of it. Don't do. Ma shabdaka vyavahritani manoharani. It is very manohara. So, sarvadvaita padasya vismrta nidhehe praptihi prakashodayaha. So, we have 5 more verses. We will see tomorrow, I think. 4 more verses. Very beautiful. Abhinavaguptacharya has suddenly appeared. Shiva Shiva. Arunachala Shiva. Arunachala Shiva. Arunachala Shiva. Arunachala.